as, oh gosh, just a whole bunch of other stuff. Vaughn from Gun Sword. Video games, you'll know me as Robin from Fire Emblem. Yeah. Yes. And Richter Belmont from Castlevania. Yeah. Awesome, thank you. You can hear me as Duval in One Piece. Let's see. Jin Kisaragi and Hakumen and Blazblue. Yeah! Awesome. Which is one of my favorite roles ever. And then, Super Smash Brothers. I have two characters, Richter Belmont and Robin in Super Smash. So I'm super excited about that. So this panel, just so you know, it's really anything you want to talk about. I know that like the basis of it is Blazblue and is Kill to Kill, but ultimately, like this is a conversation that I want to have with you guys, and where we get to talk and share and you know, talk about what we all love. So if it's not necessarily Blazblue, that's fine. If it's not necessarily Kill to Kill, that's fine. If you want to ask me where I get my haircut, that's fine. We can do that. So what we'll do is Daniel and I will take questions and we will start a conversation. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, so who wants to begin?
Yes.
Here.
Can I do like a voice request?
Sure.
Can you do Robin's line, time to tip the scale? Time to tip the scales.
Sure, you got it. Okay. So this is, I honestly, like, I love this character so much because it was so, like, when I got cast as Robin, it was the last chance that Fire Emblem had as a franchise in Awakening. They were going to cancel that franchise. And luckily, Awakening just blew it off the charts, and now it is what it is. It's become this behemoth. So in that vein, I'm always 3 steps ahead. It's time to tip the scales.
Yeah!
Of course. Absolutely. Does anybody else have any other questions? Yes, you, sir.
If you could like be friends with any of the characters you played, who would it be, and what would you do with them as a pastime or to have fun?
I would be friends with Grimjow Jaggerjack. And he and I would hang out and beat people up for fun. No, I'm kidding. No, I like all of them. I think that, like, I don't think I could be friends with Gilgamesh, because he's too crazy. I think maybe I could be friends with Robin. Yes. I think I could be friends with Robin. I could be friends with Richard from Tales of Graces. And I could be friends, I know who I could be friends with. Is anybody in here familiar with the Tales of Neptunia? Or Hyperdimension Neptunia,
Yeah.
sorry. Hyperdimension Neptunia. I would be friends with Anonadeth. And and if you don't know who Anonadeth is he is a robot, but he's a fabulous robot who talks like this. He and I would be buddies.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you were in a room with Jin Kisaragi from Blazblue, what exactly would you talk about? I would hope you wouldn't discuss Ragnar around.
Oh,
that
we
would
have
not
to talk
go
about
well.
Ragnar. There's nothing else to talk about. Either that or our disdain for Noel Vermillion. Noel Vermillion. You know, I have to say though, like honestly, I've been the voice of Jin Kisaragi now for a decade. Like it's been 10 years since I first got cast as him, and it has been such an honor to be such a part of that franchise. And I love all the characters. My only regret is the one, I think it was Central Fiction, that didn't get the dub. Yeah, that was my one biggest complaint. It was like, man, and the thing is that there's a million reasons why they may or may not dub it. And it has nothing to do with the actors. It has nothing to do with anything. It just has to do with budget and that type of stuff. So that's probably my one biggest regret. But if I was in the room with Jin, oh, we would be talking about Ragnar. You know it. Yeah.
Out of all the roles that you've done, which one affected your voice the most?
Out of all the roles that I've done, which one affected my voice the most? I would say Spec Ops: The Line, because doing that voice, it was the grenade, that type of stuff, and because of that role, I actually lost a job for being Keebler Elf, which would have been really huge. That's big money. And so that one affected me the most. And then anytime I go in and record Hakumen, it's like I have to recover for the next like 3 days because it's all the way down here. I am the white void. And then they put the filter on it as well. But it's so down here that literally it feels like when I'm driving home from the studio that I've been gargling razor blades, you know. So I would say Hakumen for sure.
Yes.
So in regards to Hakumen, I recall he actually had his voice filter changed throughout the series.
Yes.
And so I remember in Calamity, the Trigger and Team Shift, he sounded like very deep. Yeah, very deep.
Yes.
And then came Chrono Phantasma and Continuum Shift Extended, where he sounded even deeper.
Yep.
And then now Cross Tag Battle, he actually sounds a bit closer to what Jin sounds.
Yes.
So with the filter changes, did they also have to? Did they also ask you to like change how you sounded when you voiced him?
That's actually a really good question. No, you know what? They didn't. They didn't ask me to change my voice. I did the same Hakumen voice that I have done since day one on all of those properties. And what they did is they changed the filter. And on, I think it was the second one, they changed it so much that when I was listening to it, it didn't sound like me. Like, honestly, I was like, God, did they recast Hakumen? You know? I'm like, they can't recast Hakumen, I'm Hakumen. No, they changed it so much that I was like questioning, like, did they recast? But no, it was me. It was just the filter that they put on. I don't know why they changed the filter. I don't know what the reason was, but yeah, they changed it enough to where I didn't even recognize my own voice.
I think it might have something to do with the overall plot of Blazblue, because Jin and Hakumen are very connected in that series.
Ah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Jin is always connected with Ragna. And Hakumen. Yes?
So still on the topic of Blazblue, considering how Blazblue is like so much more, or at least a little bit more than just a fighting game, what was your reaction to seeing the script for the first time? Because I remember an old interview with Patrick Seitz, and they got a whole binder.
Yes.
Yeah.
A binder of the scripts, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, my first reaction was I didn't get to see the scripts. So I didn't know anything until I came to the studio that day. And actually, the studio called me out of the blue, and they're like, hey, audition this really quick. And so I did, and then literally the next thing I knew, the next day I'm in the studio recording Jin Kisaragi. And the first director was a director, her name is Christy, I can't remember her last name, but she directs like all kinds of stuff. She's a prolific director.
Christina V?
No, Christy is her name. Christy, I can't remember, but she directs like, what is the one that Zach Callison is the star of? I don't know. It's the one with the kid with the red shirt with the yellow star on it.
Steven Universe.
Steven's Universe. Like, so she directs like all that kind of stuff now. And she was directing when I came in that day. And I didn't read the script. I had no background on Jin Kisaragi or who he was. And basically, and that's part of voice acting in a video game is that you don't get a script and you don't get any like type of context. So you have no idea what's going on in that character's life. So basically, I relied on Christy to totally tell me what was happening and why Jin was batshit crazy about Ragna, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot that I knew. I know that Patrick stepped in after Christy to direct, and he's been the director of the series since. So he has a lot more access to kind of the background materials of the video games before I ever come across them.
Yes, over here.
Questions, great.
If there was a Blazblue crossover, what is your match-made crossover Blazblue, like Guilty Gear or Street Fighter? Which one do you prefer to cross over?
Ooh, that's a good question. Which would I prefer to see?
Yeah,
Yes, I would like to see Blazblue and Street Fighter. I think that would be awesome. Tekken, obviously. Forget about it.
Fight yourself.
I can fight myself. Yes. Martial law and Jin. How awesome would that be? That would be incredible. I don't know. I mean, I think that like those. I think Street Fighter would be a great one. I'd like to see that happen.
Fire Emblem BlazBlue.
Or Fire Emblem, yes. Fire Emblem and BlazBlue. That would be epic.
Fate.
Or Fate.
Yeah, Gilgamesh versus Rock.
Gilgamesh versus Jin. That would be brilliant. Which one would you like to see?
Guilty Gear and BlazBlue.
Guilty Gear?
Culture.
For sure.
Yeah, Guilty.
Gear is kind of similar to BlazBlue, isn't it?
Yes, to a degree.
To a degree, yeah. That's what I thought I heard.
Predecessor.
He is the predecessor to BlazBlue, is Guilty Gear.
Yes.
I would love to see that. That would be an epic matchup. We have lots of awesome questions. This is great.
How about you over here in the yellow shirt?
Speaking on that, like Guilty Gear and Blaze, I don't know if this is true, but my friend tried telling me that BlazBlue actually came about because I think they lost the rights to Guilty Gear or something like that.
No, they didn't.
That was, my understanding is that BlazBlue was derived out of Guilty Gear.
Yeah, it was like I think it might have been like Dice Stage Rotaro or one of them. They didn't have like some rights to it. I don't know if they said. I didn't look it up, but they said that BlazBlue was technically like a clone in a sense. But
Yeah, that was what I had, is that BlazBlue was born out of Guilty Gear. That was
but
kind of
the
my
characters
understanding.
have like very similar like physical appearances to some other Guilty Gear
Yeah.
characters.
Kai and Jin in particular.
Yeah.
Kai Kisuke and Jin
Kai and Jin are,
Kisaragi.
like, almost identical.
Twins.
Yeah.
Twinsies.
You over here in the middle.
When you voice fighting game characters, when you do non-verbal lines like or whatever, when you get hit, do they ask you to come back every time they make a new game to repeat those lines, or do they have them saved where they use it again and again in every game?
That is an awesome question. No, I have to come back every time and go "Ugh," all over again. But it's great because hey, I get paid to go in and go "Ugh." So no, literally every single time they have us come in. Now, ultimately, sometimes they will recycle lines from prior versions of a game, and that's happened often. But especially with BlazBlue, we record new lines, new dialogue all the time. With every new game that comes out, there's always more recordings.
What about with recap episodes of TV shows or with remakes of video games, like complete remakes?
Once again, it totally depends. So, like for instance, what you, Daniel, were just talking about is like a recap of an episode. The line that they use, right? This is for an anime, right? It may not fit in the recap, so you have to re-record it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So if they can pull it, it's called doing a poll. If they can pull it and then use a pre-recorded line that you've already recorded, they'll do it. But oftentimes, because of timing issues, and that goes with video games, it goes with anime and everything, because of timing issues, they may need to have you just re-record it, even if it's the same line. Because the line might be like, I'll kill you, right? And then in the next version, it might be, I'll kill you! So you have to say it faster, and it needs to be on a timed recording, so.
You on the edge here. Yeah.
Okay, so I know you said for voice acting, you don't get the script until you reach the studio.
Yes.
But were there any roles where you actually did get like the source material or like any background context to any
I got the source material in Kill la Kill. Alex Von David was the director, and Hiroe Tsukamoto, who's actually here at this convention, was the lead producer on the series. And Alex, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, the director's like, I don't care, I don't really want you to watch it, just follow my lead. But for Kill la Kill, because we knew that Kill la Kill was going to be such a special show, and we knew it was going to be very popular, it was a popular title, Alex poignantly said, hey, I want you to, number one, watch this in Japanese, and I want you to look at the scripts so that you have this ahead of time. And so, yeah, it's not often that happens, but sometimes.
You on the right here.
So on the topic that we asked last time about the hit sound effects, how many times do you record your grunt sounds?
Oh man, I'm telling you, I had, we were recording, it was Kill la Kill. And because this was going to be such a big series, the producers from Aniplex came in, and I'm not kidding you, you remember that, were you here last night for my panel? Okay, so last night what we did is we did what was called a standard 102. It's a nonverbal voice acting cue. And you've all heard of this. It's called, it's ubiquitous across anime. And it sounds like this. Right? That's all it is, right? And I'm not kidding you, I must have done 20 takes of going, and the producer's like, no, let's listen to it, you know, and I'm like, oh man. So 20 takes later, and then they're like finally, okay, that's the one, you know? And so yeah, that happens. That happens occasionally too.
You on the left here.
There's one line that's been sticking to me since Continuing Shift was released 9 years ago. It's from a specific gag reel where Ragnar wears the spectacles.
Yes!
Yeah, bring it up.
Oh man, I love that gag reel. Yeah, I wish they dubbed just for that.
Oh, I remember this. No, seriously, I think we recorded like 3,000 lines or something like that, so. This is the gag reel, right?
Rachel's gag reel.
Okay. You horrible pack of harpies! Don't you dare touch my brother! Get out of my way or I'll cut you to pieces!
Yes!
That's pretty awesome, dude. Oh man, that's awesome. You horrible harpies! I remember saying that.
How about you in the back here?
In regards to how they in Blazblue, when
Yes.
when they go to the next game, often they repeat. Often the characters will say the same thing they said before, the same line, but like again said in a new take. And often, sometimes I notice that the line is maybe like emphasized or said differently, but like it's still the same line. Do the voice directors tell you to say it differently, or is it a thing that you sort of improv on?
It's just the same line, but it's said differently. A lot of the time, we really follow the direction of our director, so a lot of that would come from the director's chair. And there just might be a different intention behind it, or whatever it is. Do you have an example of like what a line would be that sounded different between two versions?
Dead Spike. The Dead Spike line from Patrick Stites. That sounds pretty different between Chrono Phantasma and Continuing Shift, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, in Continuing Shift, he goes something like Dead Spike, where in Chrono Phantasma he goes more like Dead Spike.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So honestly, it's just different takes. It could be totally just on a whim. It's just different intention behind the line and why they're saying the line. And again, a lot of that would definitely come from the director. Interesting. That never occurred to me.
You here on the left.
Can you explain Jin's obsession with Ragnar?
I honestly can't. I honestly, the guy's just nuts. He's crazy. I don't know. They did not give me that much background in detail on why he's obsessed. It's just that he's very obsessed. And there are certain points in time where he's more obsessed than others. And so, honestly, I just had fun playing him being obsessed with his brother. I don't know. Maybe their mom did something to them. I don't know, but there's an interesting relationship between those two brothers.
I think it was Terumi.
Was it Terumi?
I don't remember, but I think they had a thing where he mentioned that he messed with memory and like emotions, like how like the Murokumi units did that.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I remember picking up on. I don't remember if that's how it was. That makes sense to me, I think.
It's also partly the Yuki Anasa sword.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it had something to do with Yuki
reaction
Anasa.
to the Azure.
What, say it again?
The Yuki Anasa sword that Jin wields.
Yes.
It amplifies his like murderous intent towards the Azure, which Ragna just happens to have.
Yes. Yeah, that was actually my initial thought. It had something to do with Yuki Anasa.
Alright, you here on the edge.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I always wanted to ask someone that did fighting games. So can you do a combo?
Do a combo?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I can do a combo.
Just act.
Nice.
Okay.
Or a two-parter.
You here on the left.
So in general, when you're voicing character interactions, do you actually meet with the other voice actors or doing the other characters in the same booth?
That's a great question. And for the most part, with anime, never. You're always in the booth by yourself. And that's because you have all the animations already done. And so you have got to match the exact action that's happening in the lip flap that's happening on screen. Video games, it's very similar. You're in the booth by yourself for the most part. The only time that you get to be in the booth with other actors is when you're doing commercials, with like radio spots and things like that. And then when you're doing original animation. And original animation is super fun to record because then you've got like multiple actors all lined up and it's like you're doing a table read. And you go through the script page by page by page, acting it out, acting off of each other, which is great. So with anime, you're in there by yourself, and it's always a treat if the character that you're acting off of, the other English actor has already gone and recorded their lines, because then you can hear them and you can play off of them. Otherwise, you're really on your own and you're acting just strict, on what your director's telling you to do and on your own skill.
And a lot of that comes down just because of scheduling with like so many people you have to coordinate at the same time and people are available on certain times of days, right?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean.
Like, just to, like, everyone has their own schedules being, like, working at different companies.
Yes.
Like, so that's part of the reason, right? That they don't get everyone at the same time?
No, that doesn't really have anything to do with it. It has to do with, while you're by yourself is because they have to isolate that voice and plug it into the existing animation.
Okay. You here on the left.
How many scales have you tipped this weekend?
My heavens. Just look at the time. It's time to tip the scales. Not enough. Not enough. Yeah.
So speaking of Robin, I remember actually in Awakening, the Awakening in general didn't have as much voice lines compared to the newer Fire Emblem games.
Yep.
Such as Warriors and Heroes, where like Robin and many other characters got to speak much more lines than they did before.
Yes.
So how was the feeling of, I guess perhaps getting to know the character better and speaking more of speaking as them more?
It's awesome. You know what's so funny is when I first, even when I first auditioned for Robin, like I had no idea. I really was unfamiliar with the franchise, and I think that like I had no idea that this was their last shot, and I went in and recorded, and I think that I recorded for 30 minutes. Like that was it. I had a number of lines and just busted them out, and then I left and forgot all about it. And it wasn't until 8 months later that I was at a convention and everybody in my autograph line had Fire Emblem, that I realized that, this was gonna turn into something. And so the first recording session was really uneventful for me because literally I knocked out the lines in 30 minutes and I was done. And so later on, as the character developed more and the franchise became much more popular, for me it was a thrill to be able to really kind of get into it and explore Robin further, with the dialogue and with his character. It's a really good question.
You here on the left.
Yeah, so in the original Awakening game, there was like 2 other voice
Yeah, I actually know one of the other actors. Chris Smith is his name. And I have to say, I mean, I'm just honored, because there were three voice choices for Robin in Awakening. And somehow I became the most popular one and the default, and therefore I became Robin from Fire Emblem. And so, like, to me, it was just a huge honor. Each of the actors that also recorded Robin are extremely talented, fine gentlemen. But for me, I just feel extremely fortunate and very lucky that I eventually became the ultimate voice for Robin.
How about you over here?
Since there, have you heard of the upcoming Fate Grand Order anime in Babylonia? And if so, are you going to reprise Gilgamesh?
If Gilgamesh makes an appearance, I don't know if he does or not, but if he does, I would assume that I would reprise my role as Gilgamesh. I would hope. You never know. You could always get recast because it happens all the time. I in the Fate, Heaven's Feel, and all of the movies and things like that, I'm continuing to reprise my role as Gilgamesh.
How about you right here in the white?
I think one of the Japanese voice actors is Ani this year. I'm
Yes.
wondering if you had any encounters with her.
I have.
And if you want to describe anything that happened or anything humorous.
Well, no, there was nothing humorous, but I mean, I actually met her at Anime Expo in 2015 when Kill la Kill was coming out. They had flown over to premiere Kill la Kill at Anime Expo, and I met them there. And then this weekend, Hiroe Tsukamoto, who's one of the lead producers of Aniplex and the dubs, is here as well. And so she texted me yesterday. It was at a meet and greet. She texted me yesterday. She's like, "Oh my God, I didn't know you were going to be here. You have to come and say hello to the actors from Kill la Kill." And so it's Ryuko, Satsuki, and Sanagayama. Those seiyuu are here. And so yeah, yesterday I got to sneak into their rehearsal for their live reading, and got to go in and kind of greet and chat with them for a little bit. So it was nice, super nice. They're awesome people and really talented.
You over here in the white.
Yeah, so you mentioned before that you have had to watch Kill la Kill for your role.
Yes.
I wanted to know what was your initial reaction to the show and to your character that you're supposed to be?
What the hell am I getting? Honestly, like
in his swimsuit.
I know. No, seriously. I first got the sides, and you get a picture of the character. And I auditioned for Gamagori, and then obviously Senketsu and a couple of others. But when I was auditioning for Senketsu, I'm like, he's a jacket. How the hell do you come up with a voice for a jacket? And then I auditioned for it, and then I got what's called a callback. And a callback is that they've narrowed it down to, like, from 100 people, they've narrowed it down to 5, and you're one of the 5. And so you go into the recording, they had us come into the studio to go in and do our callback. And I was in there, and it was after I booked it, or no, it was in between the time that I had auditioned my first time and gotten the callback that I went in and started actually like looking it up and watching it. And I was like, oh my God, this show's insane. And then when I booked it, then Alex Von David, the director, was like, okay, you need to watch all of this. And I have to say, my favorite episode is the episode 4. The race back up to the school. Yeah, I loved that episode. It was one of my all-time favorites.
What would you like relief that there's no like flaps you have to match to? Just
No, I mean, honestly, like, I've been doing anime long enough that, like, it's always easier if you don't have to match the lip flap, but I mean, I'm pretty skilled at it now, so it doesn't bother me having to match the lip flap.
You in the middle over here.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, I have 2 quick questions and one bigger one. So, would you believe me if I said there's a version of Gilgamesh where he's hardworking, humble, and cares about other people?
No. That's not the Gilgamesh I know.
Cat stick. Also, when you're doing voices like Gilgamesh, how do you go from being a pretty nice guy like you are right now to being a cocky and pompous guy like Gilgamesh?
Oh man, I love that character so much. It's so much fun to be mean. Because I'm not mean, like I'm a nice guy, and so like going in and actually being a jerk like he is really fun, and it's really easy for me to slip into it.
Also, finally, is Susanoo coming to Cross Tag?
No idea.
Jojo over here.
Yes. Aside from Jin and Hawkman, who is your favorite Blazblue character?
You know what's so funny is I would have to say probably Noel Vermillion.
Yes.
Which is his nemesis. And then the name is I have to look up the characters.
You can
Just describe. Yeah.
He wears the hat?
Hazama.
Hazama.
Oh,
Hazama.
boy.
Yeah. I like Hazama.
I have cross tag battle like pulled up right here.
Oh, awesome.
Hazama the incel.
Great flannel over here. Yeah.
You've done so many roles over the years, progressively getting more and more experienced along the way.
Yes.
Do you think you've peaked at all?
Do I think I peaked? I peaked in high school.
What peaked?
No, I don't think that I've peaked at all, because like honestly, that's the great thing, and I know I've said this in other panels, but I'm a bald guy and I sell haircuts on the radio. Doesn't matter how old you get, doesn't matter what you look like. You're a voice actor. It's your voice that matters, and it's the performance, the vocal performance that you give. So I think that I look forward to more opportunities and more roles to come.
The person in the middle with the funny hat.
Okay.
Boy, you got a funny hat on your head.
I don't even know how to describe it.
Can you laugh like Gilgamesh for us?
Like Gilgamesh? Thank you. That was a very Gilgamesh laugh. Evil.
Purple shirt on the left here.
Can I hear second to joining the iron?
Oh, yes! No, this is one of my all-time favorite scenes in the entire show.
Oh, God.
And if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to give away a spoiler, but basically, you know that Senketsu is a talking sailor uniform, and Ryuko goes off to school and forgets to wear him, and so Mrs. Monconcho decides that he needs to be washed and ironed. And he thinks he's being tortured, and it sounds a little something like this. Ryuko, no! Oh. So good. We were rolling in the studio with that scene. It was so funny. My all-time favorite scene out of the whole series.
Raymond over here.
If Blazblue will have major reboot, reimagining, what is the policy if they cast for the character? Would they use the original character or new people for reboot? Well, what would the process be?
Okay, I'm not quite sure I understand. I know that if there was a reboot, what's the exact question? Like if
would you use the original voice, or do we hire new people to cast as a voice for a reboot?
I think that really is up in the air. Typically, they'll try to keep the same cast.
For nostalgia?
For nostalgia, yeah, well, yeah, and then just for continuity. So they'll typically try to keep the same cast. Ultimately, if it changes production company or something along those lines, then sometimes they recast the entire cast. Sometimes they may recast one or two characters. You never know. I actually got cast in, I can't never remember the name of the show, but I got cast as a pretty large role in an anime series, and I wound up getting recast And then I got cast in Blue Exorcist as Arthur Auguste Angel, but I didn't get cast. The original show that I had gotten cast, Nuri was the anime. The Nuri, the something clan. And at any rate, my voice sounded so close to what the lead character sounded like that they were just like, they tried during the session, they're like, try to do it differently, and I tried all these different ways, and ultimately they wound up recasting me just because I sounded too similar to the lead character. But then they turned around and they cast me in another one of their series. So, I mean, that happens all the time. I think that most of the time they would prefer to keep the same cast.
You here on the left. Yep.
So recently Fire Emblem got a new game called Three Houses. I was
Yeah.
wondering if you played it or are you going to play it? And so what house are you going to pick?
I'm not sure. You know what? I have not played it yet, and I don't have you know, a console to play it with, so I don't foresee an opportunity for me to get to play it anytime soon. But the next chance that I get, believe me, I will. I have no idea who I play. Who are you playing?
Well,
Golden
I
Deer is
haven't
pretty
played
safe.
it yet 'cause I was gonna get it too, but I'm gonna pick Golden Deer because I love Claw.
The upside down.
Best boy.
Yeah.
Best boy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I hope to have the opportunity to play very soon. It's I've heard nothing but amazing things about it.
You here on the far left.
So for Fire Emblem Heroes, you came back for Robin, and then you also voiced Michaelis, right?
Yes, Michaelis. That happened, I mean, honestly, they were just like, in the studio, they were just like, okay, you're also playing this character. So, you know, I mean, I came in and I had been doing Robin, you know, for a number of years. So they had me as Robin, but then they had me come in and they just like, this is this other character we want you to voice. Here are his character traits. He's a bad guy, you know, he's got he's more gruff, as Michaelis is definitely more, you know, gruff than Robin ever could be. And so yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I had to audition for Michaelis. They just handed him off to me.
And can I also get Don't Push Me?
Yeah, don't push me.
You over here again.
Hey, so I remember when I was watching the film, there was blooper reels.
Oh yes, the blooper reels.
I was wondering if there was any better to make it in.
I had one, and it wasn't a blooper, but it was just an improv that I did. And it did not make the cut. It didn't get into the show, and it didn't make it into the blooper reel. But do you guys remember the recap episode?
Yeah.
So the recap episode, if you haven't seen it, it's episode 17. And Senketz also narrates the series. And so in the recap, in about 30 seconds, he recaps 16 episodes of the entire series. So I'm talking a mile a minute. And it's sped up too. It's and so it took 4 hours to do that take. And so at the end of the final take, when we were finishing it up, and I was saying the last line of that blast, I improvised a you know, to take a deep breath after spewing out all that stuff out. And I would have loved for that to have made it into the blooper reel at least, or even into the show, but she didn't want to put it in. The producer didn't think it didn't fit with the character, so it didn't make it in. But the blooper reel is genius, by the way. If you haven't heard it, it's on YouTube.
You and the camera.
Yeah, who would you add into Smash Bros. And what would his moves be?
Who would I add into Smash Brothers?
Isaac.
Yeah. Grimjow, yeah. And his moves would be Lord Aizen and Grimjow. I would like to see the Iran car in Smash Brothers. And his moves would be a Grand Zero and Grind Pantera.
Green shirt over here.
So I remember Patrick Seats.
Yes.
Becoming the director of the Blazblue dub.
Yes.
For the later parts, the later games.
Yes.
And I remember I heard during Ultra Memory, the anime, and during Cross Tag Battle, he tried really hard to get to reprise all the voice actors.
Yes.
To do the character roles. How has working with Patrick? What is the experience been with working with Patrick?
Oh, I've known Patrick for 15 years. And he is probably one of the most delightful people to work with. He's one of the nicest guys in the industry. And he's a very talented director and an incredibly talented actor. So I love working with him. I know that he tried hard to get Laura Bailey back into the Blazblue. I'm not too sure if she made it in or not. But no, he worked really hard to get that dub for Blazblue Ultra Memory to Los Angeles, because Funimation actually picked up the rights to it, and Funimation's out of Dallas. Patrick has got a wonderful working relationship with Funimation, and he was able to secure a situation we were able to actually dub the anime in Los Angeles. So he's a fantastic guy and a great director.
You over here in the flat.
Speaking on the Blazblue cast, we just heard about your relationship with Patrick Stites. I was wondering if you had as well as a relationship with the other cast members, such as Stephanie Shea, who plays Mai Natsume.
Oh yeah, Stephanie. I've known Stephanie, colleague, for 15 years, and so Stephanie. I'll actually be seeing her next Friday because I'm working with her on something.
Tell her I say hi.
I will.
I'm a very big Mai fan.
Oh, are you? Okay. I will let her know.
Thank you.
And no, Stephanie's delightful. I've worked with her for years. I've known her for years, and she's a consummate professional and very good at what she does.
Jojo over here again.
I don't know if you'd remember it, but what is your favorite line from Earth Defense Force 4.1?
Yes.
No clue. I didn't even know I was in that game.
It was wonderful.
It was what? It was wonderful, yeah? No, I have no idea. Like
If
when?
you ever get a chance to play 4.1,
Yes.
it's good. You just blow up giant insects. You know, have the whole city blocked. It's wonderful.
Is that right?
You had you guys do like English, like really terrible with translation. And it's like it's hilarious.
That is awesome. I'm gonna have to go back and I'm gonna YouTube it.
It's also got some pretty fire music though.
Oh, that's awesome.
Guy in the gray back there.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. This one's for David Vincent. I'm not sure which one. I'm on stage is. Alright. Okay, it's David. Someone who's heard a lot about stuff like Kill la Kill. Is it recommended to read source material if that's based on an adaptation of a manga or anything, or can you go into both shows that are adaptations and judge it as a show on its own? Because I'm not sure if Kill la Kill is based on anything I have to read before watching.
Kill la Kill is an original anime actually, so you can just go into that knowing nothing and you'll be good.
So they do have a manga.
Okay. And are there any recommendations for any other shows that you're a part of that you had great fun working on that I should check out?
Gunsword.
Gunsword.
Is it on Netflix?
It was at one point. I'm not sure where to find it right now.
Okay, I'll have to go hunt it for that then.
Okay. You over here in the white shirt.
So I know that you've dubbed a lot of anime, so I just wanted to know what was a difficult name to pronounce when you were dubbing any of it?
A difficult name to pronounce. I will tell you exactly what comes to mind, and it's in Kill la Kill, and it's a power move that Senketsu does, and he goes Seni Soshits, which I don't know if you remember that or not. I said Seni Soshits exactly 1,000 times. Like for one take. Like it was for that one scene, and it's in the very first episode. And it was Seni Soshits. And Hiroe, who's here, I love her to death, but she was like, no, it's Seni Soshits. And so I go, Seni Soshits. And she goes, no, Seni Soshits, Seni Soshits. And like literally it was, my head about exploded.
You back there in the black.
In the topic of doing like thousands of takes for one line, has there ever been a point where you just said, okay, I'm done with this?
No, I haven't hit that point. I mean, I've obviously gotten frustrated, but no, I've never gotten to the point where I'm like ready to walk out of the studio and flip the table or anything. You know, it's part of the job is to make sure that you get it right. And I'll tell you a perfect example of this, and this is in Kill la Kill. There is a scene, and I'm sorry, I can't recall exactly what the scene is. All I know is that they're sitting on a shipping dock. It's Ryuko and Senketsu, and they're sitting there and they're talking to each other. And Erica Mendez voices Ryuko. And so Erica had already recorded her line, and then I came in to record mine. And we went back and forth over the course of weeks. We had gone way beyond it. We did the tape multiple times, and it just wasn't working. It wasn't clicking. And literally 2 or 3 sessions down the road, we've gone way past it. And at the end of the session, we still would go back and try it again, and try it again, and try it again, and it just wasn't clicking. Until finally, at the end of a session, towards the end of the series, before it had gone to print, Alex was like, hey, do you mind? I just want to try this one more time. And so I'm like, yes, let's do it. And so we went back, and literally, the first take we did, it clicked. And the dialogue between those 2 characters made sense. And so if it wasn't for his effort and him pushing to go back and re-record, that scene would not have worked as well as it did. And that scene worked out incredibly. Literally, it was like the light bulb turned on. And the scene made sense finally to everyone because like the magic take came out. So yeah, I of course you get frustrated when it you know you don't get it right, but you know you have to be persistent and continue to do it.
Great shirt over here.
On that note, these big projects that you often do, when you have these sorts of like 1,000 takes sort of situations, yes. When you finally see the finished project, how do you feel?
Very proud of it. Very proud of it. Yeah, no, I'm thrilled to be a part of it, and like a show like Kill la Kill or Blazblue or really any of the projects that I work on, when I see the final product, I'm very proud of it. And all the work that not just I do, but all of the work that all of my colleagues do and my co-stars and director, everybody, it really is a collaborative effort to produce something of quality.
You over here in the black.
So the last entry of the main Blazblue series, which was Central Fiction,
yes.
had a very bittersweet ending, which had Jin basically had a 180 of his personality. How do you feel about Jin not being Jin for once?
I think it's a nice switch up, but Jin will always be batshit crazy. Sorry, I know we have young ears in this audience, and I didn't realize. Pardon my language.
You back there in the Under Armour.
Weirdest thing to happen at a convention?
Weirdest thing to happen at a convention. So this is actually a good one. So I was at a convention in Ohio, and it's a wonderful convention. And they had a VIP mixer where it was a cocktail hour, and attendees, if they paid a certain amount extra or whatever it was, would be able to come up and join all of the guests for cocktails for an hour. And so I had gotten up to the area where I was supposed to be, and I meeting and talking to people and having a lovely time. And this guy comes up to me, and he's a pretty small guy. I mean, he probably weighs, I'm not a small guy, basically. He's a small guy. He probably weighs like 90 pounds wet. And he comes up to me, and he has just drank entirely too much alcohol at this point. And he's slurring his words and asked me, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Well, my name's David Vincent, and I'm a voice actor." "What have you done?" And so I started telling him a couple of the roles, and he's like, "I don't know that." And then finally I landed on a role that he was quite familiar with, and he got super excited. He was like, "Oh my God, I gotta get a picture with you." And so I said, "Okay, you can get a picture with me." And so he came over and stood next to me, and whoever it was that was taking the picture was getting ready to take the picture, and Travis William was standing next to us. And I said, "Hey, Trav, get in the picture with us, man." And so Travis comes over to get in the picture with us, and Travis and I were wearing the same shoes. We had Snooks on. And so I said, hey, nice kicks, man. And this young man thought that I was insulting his shoes and decided that he needed to fight me. Immediately. And Travis is like, Travis, I'm a big guy, but Travis is even bigger than me. And Travis looks at this kid and he goes, how much have you had to drink? And he says, slow around, child. And Travis grabs him by his neck and just pushes him out the door. And the guy showed up in my autograph line the next day, wanting my autograph. Had no recollection of wanting to fight me. So. That was an interesting one. But honestly, and I'll say this too, is that like for the most part, 99.9999%, it has all been just delightful. Wonderful experiences. Going to conventions is honestly, it's the highlight of my career.
Blue shirt over here. Yep.
Oh. So, on a more serious note, like sometimes you get some negative comments. And
Sure. People hated me as Zenkets when the trailer came out. Before the series was released, like I got so much hate. Anyway, go ahead.
How do you often deal with that negativity?
You just try to ignore it. There's not really, anything you can do about it. There's always the sub versus dub, thing, and I do what I do. I'm an actor, and I'm a professional actor, and I've done a lot of great work over the course of my career. So you're not going to please everyone all the time, and that's just the way life is. You just try to ignore it. I know that, like, with the amount of hate that I got when Zenkets, when that trailer came out, you just kind of take it in stride and understand that they haven't even heard the series. They haven't heard the dub. It's literally a 1 second splice of a trailer, and they're making judgments on that. So you just try to ignore it and just know that you're doing your best work.
The negativity, like how long does it take to die down? It's usually like...
It was pretty quick. As soon as the series came out,
Yeah.
and then people actually heard me act, then that kind of flipped the coin.
Oh,
So.
okay. Yeah, that definitely helps around then.
Yeah, it's trailers. It's like and it happens with every trailer, with every series that's released. You always get the people that are like, "Oh my God, they all suck. Oh my God, this is horrible. How could they choose them? They're a horrible actor." Blah 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 blah. And then the series comes out and it's actually awesome. So it happens all the time.
You over here on the right.
When you played Richter during the remake of Symphony of the Night,
Yes.
did you read? Have you read the dialogue before the remake?
No, I didn't get access to it at all. At all.
I see where this is going.
You back there in the black. Yes.
Yeah, has there ever been a time where you did a take and you thought that it didn't go well, but then the director said that it was great, so they use it anyways?
Oh my gosh, yes. Actually, you know what? You just made a great point. And this is something, because I direct as well, and I have caught myself doing this. And if you're an actor, who in here is an actor? Or want to be a voice actor? Okay, well, I know you are and you are. Here's one bit of advice that I can give, is that even if you think that the take that you're delivering stinks and it's awful, finish it. Don't stop yourself in the middle of a take, because I've done that before. I've been guilty of this, where I'm doing the take and no, you know what, no, I didn't feel it. And the director's like, oh my God, that was perfect! What are you doing? Why would you stop? That was exactly what I wanted. So, yes, that has happened. I've been guilty of doing that as an actor and as a director. I've also been on the other side of the table where I'm like, dude, don't stop. That was the perfect take. Even though you weren't feeling it as the actor, the way that it sounded is exactly what I was looking for. So that has happened often, more than once.
You here on the left.
Yeah, I just got here, so I don't know what questions were answered, but
All good.
So, question I had in mind was, what was a recording tape that you remember? Like, let me start. What was your favorite recording?
It's all good.
Yeah, during Blazblue, what was your favorite recording session?
I would say there was just this greeting that Jin Kisaragi had, and it's always about Ragna. It has to be about Ragna, and it was this, and Christy was directing, and she's just like, "Man, you're insane." And so it was something like, "Oh, it's so good to see you, brother. Now I get to kill you again!" You know? And like getting crazy like that to me is just awesome. And that's one of the lines that I remember.
You over here, Jojo.
I have the most stupidest request. I've been giving you stupid requests all week.
I love student requests.
So like, I don't know if you've seen Star Wars Crusaders or know of it. I know you were the announcer.
I'm the narrator, yeah.
Towards the end, when my character gets killed off, there is a line of deal where Joe goes, "Oh, you dare approach me." Despite knowing the power of the world, you dare approach me. I want you to say in Jin's voice, "Oh, brother, you dare approach me."
Yes, please.
Okay. "Oh, brother, you dare approach me?" One last question.
You here on the edge.
As the narrator in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, can you say, Kakyoin Noriaki is an epic gamer?
Kakyoin Noriaki is an epic gamer. Awesome.
Alright, looks like we're about out of time. Thank you all for coming. Dude, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I just want to thank you guys for coming to Anime Revolution. Thank you for showing up and being here and being a part of this with us. And thank you guys for having me. Thank the staff, because these guys work their tails off to put on just an amazing, amazing show. And I have had a wonderful time, and you all are very lucky to live in such a beautiful place. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And joining us to stay.